Hey, welcome to Planet Hex. I'm Andrew Horn. This is a show where I talk about a lot of retro stuff. Usually it's VHS tapes, cult movies, comics, games, sometimes music, the right in life. It's going to be another music one this time, continuing this series I started with my previous video, which was on vintage metal vinyl. I'm going to bring you my top 10 rock vinyl albums. Now, I say rock, this is a mixture of AOR, real glam. There's some stuff that's a little bit heavier, but it all falls under rock. Some of you may see some of this as hair metal, but this is just, it's rock to me. Now, when I grew up and buying these vinyl albums, regardless of genre, everything was just like hard rock and metal to me. So things would just mix, things would blur, so different genres would blur together all into one. It was all the same thing to me, and I loved it all equally. And I loved it all for many reasons: the voices, the guitars, the melodies, how it made me feel, the confidence it would build in me, and I still love these things to this day. Now, I don't have a huge vinyl collection by any stretch of the imagination, but the ones I've kept, they are dear to me, and I'm going to take you through some more of them today. So I've got 10 more vinyl albums here, more of a rock skew than the previous one, which was mainly metal. So I'm going to start off with a powerful one. I'm going to start off strong with Soul Destruction by The Almighty. The second album by The Almighty. I love this record. This is a great record, not just because of the awesome cover art. It had some really powerful songs on it. So you've got Crucify on there, you've got Free and Easy, you've got Devil's Toy. Devil's Toy was the first song I heard by The Almighty, and I bought it because it had a very similar cover to this, and it came with a massive fold-out 12-inch poster. I wish I still had that. And there's something about how that song came in, where it starts up with acoustic and then hits you with that real full-on classic Almighty riff. I really love that song. This is a great album. Ricky Warwick's voice on this is superb. Different to a lot of like the clean vocalists. There was more of like a Motorhead sort of Lemmy feel to him in places. Really love this album. It's an odd band because they went through some stylistic changes in the 90s. You know, they had this really strong one. Then they went grunge with Power Tripping. Then they went pop punk with All So Stay. And it just kind of, I know why bands did that, but what I wanted was Soul Destruction. This is a great album for me. Love this album so much. Really strong, really great hard rock album. Still holds up to this day. Give it a stream. And next one is a little bit more obscure to some of you, but to the people that know me know I love stuff like this. I'm going to bring up Loud and Clear by Autograph. So many people know them for their big single, Turn Up the Radio, stuff like that. But this was the album for me that really cemented them, due to a track called Loud and Clear, the title track. There is some incredible guitar work on there, incredible vocals, melodies, and the video it was Ozzy and like Vince Neil showed up in the music video to this, as though they were going to an audition and see an Autograph play, and then they get into the band. But this is a really strong album, not just because of Loud and Clear, but every song on here is superb. Favourite tracks on here, Loud and Clear, of course, Dance All Night, and She Never Looked That Good For Me. She Never Looked That Good For Me is one of the really best 80s rock songs ever, and I know a lot of people won't have heard it. Please do check it out. It's an extremely good tune. Excellent rock song. Great solo, great melody, really good hook to it. And this is one of the albums I got from Powerhouse, which I mentioned in the previous episode, on Howard Street in Sheffield. Little record store there, and it was like $3.99. I got it in the mid-90s. I was in my early teens, in the early to mid-90s, and I was picking up stuff from 1987 that's full of mullets, and I loved it, and I still love it to this day. The production has aged badly, but that is a great album. The songs have aged really well. So another one here where the production has aged atrociously. A terribly produced, terribly mixed album, but one with its charm. Yeah, I'm going to get some laughs for this. I'm going to get some laughs, but I don't care. I loved it at the time, and it stuck with me through the years. It's the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and their first album. So it's not All Systems Go. They had Mark Slaughter singing on it. This is Vinnie Vincent Invasion with Robert Fleischman on vocals, and his spectacular massive hair. That's not a bad angle. That's how big his hair was on the cover. But there's Dane Strum, who ended up in Slaughter as well, and it's just glorious. It's utterly ridiculous in a way that just makes me incredibly happy. So there is, big daft rock songs, huge hooks, huge choruses, some really catchy riffs. But where this album really sticks out is Vinnie Vincent's lead playing, his lead guitar playing, which is very, very, very fast, but it's fast to the point where it's not really audible, and it's exactly what he's doing. So some of it can seem really sloppy, just from the sheer speed of it, but the songs are still really good. I really like it. Boys Are Gonna Rock, No Substitute. What else is my favourite from side 2? There's Back on Streets, a great version of Back on Streets, and I Want to Be Your Victim. That's another fun one. It's a really fun album. It is very, very much of its time, but when your lead guitarist is Vinnie Vincent, formerly of Kiss, look at the pout. The pout says it all. The attitude there is fantastic. I still love this album, even though I know full well that it is not perfect. One album that I do still say is perfect, nigh on perfect anyway, and I will defend this to my dying day, is Back for the Attack by Dokken. It's an album I've got on several formats. This is a cut one. This was from, I believe this was from Powerhouse as well. And this is the album that has Dream Warriors on it, that was on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, one of my favourite horror movies ever, definitely my favourite Elm Street movie. And it has the classic lineup of Don Dokken, George Lynch, Jeff Pilson and Mick Brown on it, and they are absolutely on fire on this album. Having interviewed both Don Dokken and George Lynch at separate times in my writing career, I did manage to wangle in, work in a mention of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, being the way that I found them, and got to talk about this album with both of them. Try not to dwell on it because people just wanted to talk about their new stuff, and I totally understand that. But this is a phenomenal rock album, and the mix on this has aged much better than a lot of albums of the era. Standout tracks, definitely things like Kiss of Death, Standing in the Shadows, Heaven Sent, George Lynch's trademark instrumental Mr. Scary is on here, and of course on the other side you've got things like Sleepless Nights and the last track, Dream Warriors, which still blows my mind. Although I still want to get hold of the original mix of it from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, because I'm sure it has some different overdubs in it. I'm sure it does. So next up, okay, let's go for one that's going to get some laughs and some pointy fingers, but I know I don't care. I stand by these albums. I still love them, despite their faults, despite their shortcomings. It's Leather Boys with Electric Toys by Pretty Boy Floyd. So I'll say that again. It's Pretty Boy Floyd, but Leather Boys with Electric Toys. All Zs. Check out all those Zs. Now, what I liked about this album, I was at the time when I found this, I was big into Motley Crue, Tiger Tails. I loved Berserk by Tiger Tails. I was a big GLAM fan. I love the attitude of it. Despite all the detractors, these bands would still go out there dressed to the nines, playing songs largely about rock and roll and partying, and just seemingly having a great time. And I just love the kitsch aspect of it. So, as well as Pretty Boy Floyd and Tiger Tails, I was listening to some underground GLAM bands as well, such as Heartthrob Mob. Shout out to you, Lonnie, and Hollywood Tease, and oh god, there was loads of them. Rox Gang. Who else was there? Rox Gang was another big one for me. Erotic Suicide was one I found in the 90s. Not the best album, but a great name for a band. But this was great fun. This was just big, daft fun. Pretty Boy Floyd is still touring to this day and playing songs from this album. But there's some standout ones, of course, Leather Boys with Electric Toys. I know how it sounds, but it was a damn sight. It was a lot of fun. Rock and Roll's Gonna Set the Night on Fire, Wild Angels, 48 Hours. God, there's several on here. Your Mama Won't Know, and I Want to Be With You. There's some great tracks on here. Even though it's ridiculous. It's very much of its time, and that is an era that really spoke to me. While everything was getting very dour with grunge, I wanted massive hairspray bands with huge anthems. I wanted escapism to take me away from what was going on around me. So less loud and outrageous of image, but way more respected in rock circles is my next one here, which I've spoken about previously on my Rock Revival podcast. I still need to do another series of that. It is Time to Burn by Giant. So the second album by Giant, was it 92? 1992, yeah, with Dan and David Huff. Oh my god, this album it's hugely respected in melodic rock circles. Most, all the early Giants, the first two Giant albums, hugely respected, but largely unknown now outside of that fan base, and it is a real shame. This is some seriously quality music. The musicianship is incredible, but there are some stupendous songs on here that I think have every right to be up on all the the big rock compilations or on the big rock playlists with all those classic bands like Boston and Toto and all the classic rock ones, REO Speedwagon, and all the ones that you would expect to find on the compilations when you're late at night seeing those adverts. It's such a shame that this album isn't held in the same regard as, like, say, stuff by Whitesnake, because it is so good. The vocals, the guitars, the bass, the drums, everything is spot on this album. Standout tracks: Thunder and Lightning, Late on the Line, Stay, which is just one of the best singles ever, and the title track, Time to Burn, which has one of my favourite solos, tying up there with the Painkiller solos from Judas Priest. Honestly, check out at least Time to Burn from this album. Time to Burn, the song itself reminds me of Tooth and Nail by Dokken, really furious, full-on rock song, or Shy Boy, Talus did. After Giant and Time to Burn, I'm going to go a little bit more polished AOR and a little bit more European pomp with Fireworks by Bonfire. I'd heard of this band when I picked this up, but I got this one from a market stall in Barnsley, of all places, and it was about £1.50 in their bargain bin. At the time, grunge was everything at the time. That was the one that had swallowed everything and destroyed the media's interest anyway in music like this, although it hadn't destroyed the fans' love for it. There were still fans for it out there, and there still are to this day. I know grunge did all the clearing out of all the junk as well, but there's some amazing stuff back in the 80s as well. This was 87, and yeah, they look like a Eurovision nightmare on here, but I liked it. It really appealed to me. This has a chunky guitar sound and some really powerful, like, mid-period Scorpion sort of rock music on it. Ready for Reaction is a great track. Look up Ready for Reaction. Champion, American Nights is about as cheesy as it gets on that album, but it's a great record, and one that will always stay in my collection. Love this album dearly. Next up is one that a lot of rock fans will know, some rock fans will love, and some will laugh and point and deride mercilessly, and absolutely understandable. It is Look What the Cat Dragged In by Poison. Now, for a while, I loved this album so much that this was framed in my flat before I met my wife. I have records all over the walls, and I love it. I had it on tape, played it to death on my Walkman at the absolute height of grunge, and it just felt like my own little act of rebellion. Came out on Music for Nations, great label. So there's some dodgy lyrics on this. The lyrics have not aged well, especially in songs like I Want Action. That's not great, and Want Some, Need Some, and Look What the Cat Dragged In, and Play Dirty. It's a questionable album now, but at the time it was, that rock and roll attitude. And again, guys getting up dressed like this on big stages, I just had respect for them, and anyone that makes themselves look a little other, everyone from David Bowie to Ghost and people like that, they put on a show for people. These were putting on a show, and these bands like Twisted Sister and so on, they were putting on a show that caught the eye and caught the attention and got a response, even if that response was to throw things at them. But this does have some great songs on it. Cry Tough was surprisingly good. I Won't Forget You is a very effective ballad on it. There's Talk Dirty to Me as well, of course. One of the simplest but most satisfying riffs to play. And Let Me Go to the Show was a good one that gave a glimpse of what they would do later on with things like Your Mama Don't Dance. But yeah, I liked it. It is what it is, and I liked it. But one that has aged much better from a similar sort of era, a similar sort of corner of the rock spectrum. And this has held up in terms of songwriting, production, performance, everything. This still sounds fantastic. It is the debut album by Enough's Enough. Yeah, another cut one, so you can see it was a budget one from a where they didn't want you to make any money by selling it on. So, but I never cared about that. I just wanted the music. Now, what I wanted the most from this album, I'd seen 2 music videos on VH1 or something, not VH1. It must have been VH1 or Raw Power or something like that. I'd seen 2 music videos. I'd seen New Thing and I'd seen Fly High Michelle, and they are incredible songs. They get a lot of stick for the image, the early years image, but if you listen to the music, it's like hard rock Beatles. They are spectacular songwriters. Donny V on vocals and Chips Enough on bass and vocals have a unique vocal style. This had Derek Frigo on guitar. Such a shame that he passed away a few years after this. I think it was just after, wasn't long after they did Animals with Human Intelligence, the 3rd album, I think, where he passed away. But it also had Vic Fox on drums. I think Vic Fox passed away as well. And it's such a shame. So incredibly talented individuals. Go spin this. If whether you stream it, whether you have it, whether you own a copy of it, check it out. There is something really timeless about the first Enough's Enough album. I know how silly that sounds, but honestly, speaking as a music critic with a great deal of experience in taking apart what makes an album good, what makes songs good, check this out. It is really, really strong to this day. Now brings me to our last one of this video, my top 10 favourite rock vinyl albums. Now, this one's a special one to me because I really love the album, I really love the band. The band has aged well over the years and they've consistently been putting stuff out and performing well over the years, but I got to meet the band when I bought this album and I was 14, I think I was 13 or 14 at the time. Came out in 92, if I remember rightly, 1992 on EMI Records, and it is Laughing on Judgment Day by Thunder. And here I have my original signed double vinyl copy of Laughing on Judgment Day. Now there's blue tack marks on the back of the cover where I'd actually put it into a frame without the records in it because it is so precious to me. So we've got Harry James, Danny Bowes, Luke Morley, Snake there, and we've got Ben. The lineup that I remember wonderfully. They did such a great job with the debut, Backstreet Symphony. Laughing on Judgment Day was a little more serious, a little darker, especially with the first single, which was Low Life in High Places, that talked about homelessness and so on. There was a lot of excellent music on here. So standout tracks, Everybody Wants a, Low Life in High Places, the title track Laughing on Judgment Day, Empty City. Empty City is a great album. Great song. A Better Man, that is just perfect. And you've got good time songs towards the end, like Floor to Perfection. But if you want something that's disarmingly beautiful and poignant, listen to A Better Man. Low Life in High Places is my favourite song from it, but A Better Man is an incredible song. So that is 10 of my favourite rock-themed vinyl albums. Yep, there's some glam in there, some hair metal and that sort of thing, but they all fall under that glorious umbrella of big, loud, noisy music with a lot of great showmanship. And it made me really happy, and it's a lovely nostalgia kick going through those again. I do look forward to having a turntable again, which I don't have at present, to revisit all of those one by one and really wind up my family. No, listen to this solo, this is awesome. No, stop talking, there's a solo coming up. I'm terrible for solos. No one's allowed to speak during a solo, no. Anyway, If you enjoyed that, please do like and subscribe. Go check out the previous video on my vintage metal vinyl albums that I really enjoy. And I've got one more of these coming before I get back to the VHS goodness. And by crikey, I've got a great VHS and movie nerd haul video coming up after the third of these vinyl videos. So yeah, please like and subscribe for that. Please do check out my book, VHS Ate My Brain. The revised edition is out now. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode of Planet Hex.